Today on CityCast Philly, it's the Tuesday News Roundup. We're talking about how the Chinatown Stitch project is moving forward. Another City Wawa is set to close, plus more Philly trivia. It's Tuesday, March 19th. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week is CityCast Philly producer Abby Fritz. Hey, Abby.
Hey, Trenae.
And Hey Philly newsletter editor Asha Prihar. Hey, Asha.
Hi.
All right, let's get into some of the news of the week.
Yeah, so I have a update on the Chinatown Stitch project that came to us last week. So for those that don't know, the Chinatown Stitch project is a plan to connect the north and south sides of the Chinatown neighborhood, which was divided after the Vine Street Expressway was completed in 1991. For the past, I would say, even decade, people in the community have been coming forward saying that they had issues with this kind of division of the community, and people have been looking for ways to reconnect the two sides. So it was announced last week that this project is receiving $158 million in funding from the federal government. It's a federal grant through the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods program, which is essentially going to cover this entire project for them. The plan is aiming to cap the expressway, and basically they are going to put a covering over the expressway, which kind of like a little roof of some sort, and that will allow more space for the community to use over it. And the goal there is to reconnect these two sides of Chinatown. So last year in March, the city and the Philadelphia Chinatown Development Corporation announced that they were pursuing this project, and they were asking the community for input on kind of what they would want to see on the cap. So now that the project is essentially funded, they got a bunch of input from the community last year on what they would want to see on this cap, and they're planning like a public park across the expressway. They wanted to see traffic calming measures, so think things like speed bumps and such, so that it's safe for pedestrians to kind of utilize this area. They're going to connect the area to the rail park, which I don't know if people are familiar with the rail park. It's on the Reading Viaduct, and it's a really cool little park that will be essentially connected to this cap. And they are hoping to put shops and even housing on this area now. What do you guys want to see on this cap? What would be cool for you guys to be able to have in this space?
I mean, I will say that I did not realize that you could put a building on a highway cap.
Right?
Yeah, I know that I-95 is also being capped right now over near Penn's Landing, and they're building a park on there. And so, I've heard of that, and I was like, oh, they can build a park on a cap. It never really occurred to me that you could put a building on a cap. I don't know why. I don't know architecture, engineering, any of that, but I think that's pretty cool. And I mean, I think really a lot of it should be up to the community, and I don't live in Chinatown, so I don't know if it's my suggestions probably aren't worth much here, but I think it would be really cool if there could be community businesses, and I was not alive in 1991, so I'm not super familiar with what was in Chinatown, where they built the expressway, but it would be really cool if there were businesses there, if there could be some resurrected form of those businesses. I don't know. That's just an idea. I think it's really cool that they're doing this cap.
I was going to say, I think what is great about this project announcement is, for me, the walkability of this entire area from Broad Street all the way to, I want to say, Franklin Square Park, possibly. Mm-hmm. Because also I'm thinking about access to some of the community buildings like Asian Arts Initiative. Mm-hmm. If you're coming out of the Broad Street subway line, sometimes you have to cross Vine Street Expressway to get access. I know that there's a high school on that corner, Roman Catholic High School. So I feel like just creating more walkability in this neighborhood would be great. And more safety measures, like you mentioned, Abby, would be great.
Yeah, and so this is planned from 10th to 13th Streets. It's essentially fully funded now, and they're hoping for groundbreaking in 2028, and it's expected to take 3 to 4 years to complete. So it's not too far out there that we could see this area change. Something else that I thought was interesting about this was U.S. Senator Bob Casey said in the announcement last week that Philadelphia is one of the first cities in the nation to receive money from this particular federal program. It's billed as the first federal program dedicated to rejoining communities that were cut off from economic opportunities or otherwise hurt by past transportation and infrastructure decisions. So I think it's on top of them just receiving this funding, it's a cool acknowledgement of this community and what they've gone through and how, infrastructure really does impact neighborhoods in our city. So yeah, that's what's going on with the Chinatown Stitch project.
More news stories of the week after the break. This is CityCast Philly. All right, the next story that I want to talk about is another City Wawa is closing. And this time, according to NBC Philadelphia, it's the Wawa located on the corner of 21st and Hamilton Streets. This is in the Spring Garden neighborhood. So this is the Wawa that is near the Whole Foods and Art Museum and the Barnes and Target. So it's closing because in the report it says the property owners had not offered the company a lease renewal. So what's replacing it, you might be asking? A Chase Bank. I don't know if we need another bank there, but that's what is coming. Now, it's unclear when the store will actually close, but it's still open, y'all. I got a hoagie there this morning. It's also important to note that Wawa has actually closed a few of its city locations because they peg it to crime and safety issues and for some pandemic-related issues as well. I think for this Wawa on 21st and Hamilton Streets, the pros is that it was great to have a convenience store, that is super relatable to folks. It's in that district. But the cons was that there's limited parking in front of the store. So sometimes you would be forced to park down the block and pay for parking. Do you all have a favorite Wawa that is now closed?
I really miss the Wawa that was right off of South Street. By Head House Square.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the South Street area, I feel like it's one of those places where you kind of just, you walk around and you stop in the different shops and you might spend a couple hours there. And I feel like, I don't know, it was nice to have a place to just grab a snack and I don't know. I feel like I know what's going to be in a Wawa, the sort of familiarity of it to where I'm okay, I want this specific item. I know that if I stop here, I can get that. Yeah, I miss that Wawa.
How about for you, Abby?
I'm going to be honest, you guys, I don't go to Wawa a ton. So I think the one I utilize the most is actually the one we're talking about today that's closing. I went there last year on the 4th of July. I think it's just, it was a good location for me in terms of when I'm running around and out with friends or doing things to grab a little something. But I know there's been so many that have closed in Center City, and it's really sad to see all these Wawas going. It feels like something that is very distinctly Philly, and it's really sad to see them kind of disappearing and have it not be an option that's around for people anymore, particularly in Center City. We've been seeing a lot of them going over the past few years. So yeah, they will be missed. RIP Center City Wawas.
All right. Now it's time for some Philly trivia.
So I think today's trivia question is a pretty fun one. I know that I've been doing some Women's History Month stuff this March. And this one is about a woman, but she's not real. So I don't know if this counts as women's history, but we're just going to say it is. So I'll just start by asking, are either of you comic book or superhero fans?
I'm more of a convert that into a movie fan and I'll watch the movie.
Yeah.
My favorite so far recently has been Moon Girl on Disney Plus. It's this cute teenage scientist who has superpowers, and I don't want to give too much away, but she has this gigantic dinosaur that helps her fight crime in New York City. And I really like that.
That's so cute. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, I'm not I don't follow superheroes in comics a lot. I do love like sci-fi, and I used to read a lot of like old like pulp fiction like comics and such, or magazines, I think is probably more appropriate. But yeah, superheroes are pretty cool.
I'm kind of like in the same boat. I'm not a big comic book person, but I like the movies they make. So yeah, I mean, then you're probably not going to be able to draw from that knowledge, but you might be able to guess this question anyway. So my question for you today is, what Philadelphia landmark inspired the creation of a DC Comics heroine?
Oh, okay.
See, I know Marvel more than DC Comics.
I'm trying to think. So like it's a heroine, so like it's a female landmark that would have inspired this character. Okay.
Well, the character is female. I mean, the landmark is...
The landmark is... It's just a landmark. So it's not like a humanoid landmark then. It's just a landmark. Okay. So it's not like a statue of someone.
I was going to say Catwoman, but then I'm like, what would be that landmark? I don't know if there's any cats. Is this like are you looking for like a statue?
That's what I was thinking.
It's not a statue.
It's just like they took like an abstract like form. They were like, yeah, the Schuylkill River is inspiring this. That's what
right.
I would love to see that.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
It's a land. I don't know what to call it other than a landmark. I guess like it's statue-ish, but it's not like a statue. It wasn't created to be a statue.
Statue-ish. Oh my goodness.
The clothespin on Market Street.
No. Do you guys want a hint?
Yes, please.
It's something that people who don't live in Philly would still probably know and associate with Philly.
Rocky?
No.
I'm completely lost.
Like the Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah, it's the Liberty Bell. Yeah. So there was a DC comic book heroine who first appeared in 1942 in a comic book called Boy Commandos #2, and her name was Liberty Bell with an
oh my goodness.
E at the end, like Belle, like kind of like the Disney princess.
Yeah,
yeah. Her name, her like name, like human name was Libby Lawrence. She was an Olympic gold medalist from Philadelphia, who also at some point is like a wartime secretary and a radio reporter. And this is all before she like becomes Liberty Bell.
Interesting.
She's got this like necklace that's made from like a piece of metal that came from the actual Liberty Bell. And her powers include the ability to manipulate sound.
Ooh.
Because, you know, bells.
Bells.
I love that she was a radio girl.
Yeah. I was like, that's so cool. But yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of random. I just learned this very recently, like this weekend. But yeah, Liberty Bell was a DC comic book heroine. And I got all this info, I want to give them credit, from the DC database on fandom.com. Nice. So shout out to that website. We can put the link in the show notes. But yeah, she has like, I was reading this page on the DC database, and it's very long. She does a lot of really interesting, fun things. Like she like fights Nazis. Like it's wild. She does like lots of stuff, and seems like a really cool hero from Philly, canonically, and called Liberty Bell. Who knew?
Wow. Go Liberty Bell.
All right. That was Hey Philly newsletter editor Asha Prihar and CityCast Philly producer Abby Fritz. Thanks, y'all, for joining me on the Tuesday News Roundup.
Thanks so much, Trenae.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You can read more about all the stories we talked about in this episode by checking out the show notes. That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Let us know what you think of this episode. Tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly, to learn more about what else Philly's talking about. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.